Jackie.
Coral.
Oh, wait, how do we do it? Oh, there we are. Wow, I've forgotten everything that we've ever learned from doing this. Is that a problem?
It's Friday. It's the end of a long week, but we're here and
It's
we're
been a bit of a week.
here. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. How are you, Coral?
Well, you look great. Look at your lighting. Is it because we're doing a cinematography episode?
Yes, you see,
glowing.
I decided to do like a mixed medium lighting.
Warm, cool,
natural. I put in a tungsten bulb, 900 watts. You know, how it works.
Wattage. Just talking about wattage.
Wattage. You know,
whatever you're doing, it's working.
Thank you.
It's very good.
You look great.
So here we go. I'm just going to click on our comments here. I'm sure the comments will start to go insane once I read you these bios of our guests today. Jackie, are you ready?
I am ready. Hit me. Who are they?
Who are they? Well, I mean, no, they need no introduction, but I'll just do it. Let's fact check these bios here. Let's make sure there's no wrong facts. No, just kidding. So Catherine Lutes, who's a wonderful person who's been involved in so many amazing films, that some of which I've been happy to be involved with. She's going to be here. She's made many appearances at TIFF, that big giant festival that we have here in Canada. Mm-hmm. And Disappearance at Clifton Hill was there last year. And she's also very well known for the film Firecrackers that is just continuing to dominate the indie scene. It was a brilliant movie by Jasmine Wasafari. And of course, she did Mouthpiece, which is another beautiful film. So, you know, just like keeping it relevant, keeping it out there. Catherine Lutes, always. A fun thing about our two friends here are that they both did different seasons of the hit show Anne with an E. Mm-hmm. And we're going to compare frame by frame who did it better. Yep. If they're ready for that. Mm-hmm. Just kidding. Okay, Bobby Shore. This is probably riddled with inaccuracies. Let me check this. Bobby Shore, lauded director of photography. That's correct. So he's the interesting thing about both of these guys as well is they jump around. They do feature films. They do TV, music videos, commercials. I just watched an Austra video that Catherine did. And Bobby has had a really great collaboration with the director, Joey Klein, who we love. Mm-hmm. And we both just watched Castle in the Ground, which is an insanely good movie. And I think that's just released on VOD, so you can probably check that out. We'll do our thing where we find links to everything and put them in the bottom. And Bobby as well has been at TIFF, South by, Camera Image, everywhere, everything. Lots of articles written about these guys. They always have to go get pictures taken, and they hate it, like all photographers and cinematographers. Okay, so that painful part for them is over. They can see us and they can hear us, but they cannot speak or say anything. So let's say, look at this. Jackie, that glow.
Listen,
Sasha, incredible. I thought that was important to put up here. And Pete Harvey, thanks for moderating the CMPA chat earlier. I did a chat with the CMPA for emerging producers, and I'll put a link to that on our Skillin It things. It was just some information about what's available through the government programs for COVID-related things. Mm-hmm. All right, should we bop these guys in? Are they ready?
Bring them in.
We don't care. Here comes one. Boop. Here comes the other one. Boop, boop.
Hello.
Oh no, you're in a different spot than before.
To answer your question, Catherine did a better job.
And she really put the E in Anne with an E.
Yeah.
And also, Jackie, can you come light my square because it looks really drab?
Jackie, we're looking real drab down here. Can you help us?
I'll hop off my bike. I'll be there in a couple seconds.
So, Catherine, you're at the cottage? At the cottage. Is that a reference?
Yeah, that's good.
How's that over there? How are you doing?
It's great. It's great. Trying to keep things sane, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a basic task right now for sure.
Yeah.
Bobby, where are you at? Are you in some sort of arboretorium? What's it called when there are plants in
No.
the house?
It's called a loft. It's where I live. It's where I've been trapped for 2.5 months.
Yeah.
It's a great place to be holed up in though. I have a television and a coffee machine.
That's all you need.
And some plants. Yeah.
It's the little things,
great.
right?
Yeah.
Well, since you guys are holed up in your respective quarters, I was wondering, what are you doing right now to keep your skills up despite not being able to be on set? Are you guys watching movies in particular that you're looking for inspiration for future projects? Are you just carrying a camera around in your bedroom and pretending like you're shooting something? What's going on for you guys?
I've been watching a lot of movies for sure. I find it hard to feel like I don't really feel like shooting moving images so much. There's not that much around me that's like driving me to shoot that. But I try to take stills every now and again. There's not, but movies for sure. I'm like was treating it a little bit like go back to film school, like watch some of the old stuff that I remembered liking. And then you go back with like new eyes and you're like, ooh, French filmmakers of the 70s, they're so pervy. I don't know.
The old perv test.
Yeah.
A lot of films fail that one.
Oh my God.
What about Bobby? You perving out over there? What are you up to?
Oh yeah, all the time. Yeah, basically every night. So it's a nonstop pervathon. It's great.
Oh, this is already
Don't tell my girlfriend who lives with me though, right?
I'm sure she has no idea.
Basically the same thing. You're watching movies, but honestly, in the last couple of years, I've been actively trying to work a lot less and work on kind of other aspects of my life that I think could use some improvement. So I've actually gotten pretty good at doing nothing the last few years. So it's been a lot of just honestly reading books and going for walks and trying actually not to think too much about film shit and movie stuff. Obviously still, watching good movies kind of like now and again and like new TV shows, which is like great and obviously super inspiring, but it's been a bit of an opportunity to kind of focus on all the other places I need to improve in my life. So it's great.
Bobby, last time I saw you in person, I was in the downward dog position in yoga, and I was like, "Is that Bobby?" I was like looking. Do you remember? It was actually a long time ago.
Was that the
at the
yoga
place on
studio
college?
on
Yeah.
The one on oh yeah. I
Yeah,
don't
and then
remember
you
that.
were like, "Oh." We saw each other after. So maybe
was I just taking a nap on the ground while everyone else was working out?
They're like, "Sir, you're not supposed to do shavasana right now."
It's like, yeah, quiet. The whole class is corpse pose.
Corpse pose. Yeah, they're just paid like
I can't
$25 to lie on the ground.
I can't pronounce shavasana well, so I just say corpse pose.
You really did get it wrong just then.
Yeah, really?
No, I'm just kidding. It's perfect. So take us back, guys. It's very interesting how you've both started your careers. And maybe you can tell us a bit about how you got into doing this job and this stream, the path.
You go first.
I go first. How far back do you want to go?
I don't know. Why don't you give us your first day on set? Do you remember?
Oh God!
And then Catherine doesn't have to do that.
Yeah, great.
Do you like student films count at all? Like when I was in like university and stuff? Or
Yeah,
like,
sure.
Yeah.
First thing you were like, "Wow, I'm on a set."
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't think any of the movies that I was making with my friends in university count as actually being a proper set. It was like asking my dad if we could shoot in his living room and then like, taking duct tape and putting like paper lanterns up all over the living room. And then when we wrapped, we would try to take them down, just rip paint down. And my dad would like get super pissed off at everyone. And so it wasn't so much like a real, I guess actually not much has actually really changed. Kind of just do the same thing no matter what project I'm on now. Yeah.
Nice. And then so you started, and I didn't really know this until I looked at some stuff, but you went to the prestigious school AFI.
Oh yeah, you know what
You don't even
AFI
have that in your
actually?
bio, Bobby. What are you doing?
Do you know what AFI? Do you know what AFI actually stands for?
What?
Another fucking idiot. Basically. No, that was like an ongoing joke when I was there. No, so I actually like all jokes aside, I got really lucky. I figured out when I was about 18 that I wanted to be a DP, and I became obsessed with Darren Aronofsky because I just seen Pi and it was black and white and I thought it was an art film, and kind of because I was obsessed with that movie, I became obsessed with Matthew Libatique, the DP who shot it. And then a couple of years later, Requiem for a Dream came out, and I was, being a young 20-year-old male, I thought it was the best movie ever made. Obviously, with about 10 years of hindsight, you look back on it now and it's horrible, but I really, really enjoyed it when it came out. And so I found out that Matthew Libatique was shooting a feature in Montreal same year that Requiem came out. So I signed up to do background work on it so I could watch him light. And I spent like a month on set just kind of trying to low-key just follow him around and see what he was doing. It was totally creepy and stalkery. And then one night I went to go, a friend of mine had like a DJ night at a bar downtown, and I went to go say what's up to him. And as we were hanging out, Maddie and the entire camera team from the movie that I was doing extra work on walked into the bar, and I got super, super nervous and really anxious and kind of like turned to my friend and I was like, oh my God, I want to go talk to that guy, but I don't think I can. I'm too nervous. And he kind of was like, just go, it's fine. And I kind of built up the courage to walk up to Maddie and introduce myself. And honestly, I don't remember 90% of the conversation, I think, because I was so nervous. But I remember one question I asked him was, how did you get your start? Like what was your inroad into like working in film? And he was like, oh, I went to AFI and it was like really beneficial for me. And so as soon as he said that, I was like 20 or 21. I was like, all right, that's what I'm going to do. And then 2 years later, I applied and got in, and then moved to LA and slept with the lights on for the first 2 weeks at the place I was staying because I felt so fucking out of sorts. I was so scared and nervous being in a new city. I know. But yeah, and then that was it.
Wow.
That's so good. Isn't that funny how like an offhand comment of someone is like, and now my life has changed.
No, yeah, I know.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
And that's all it takes. And I also used to only talk about Requiem for a Dream when I was in film school. Like, the people I went to film school with, it would be like, yeah, but guys, have you seen Requiem for a Dream?
I totally talked about it constantly too. I think I rewatched it. I remember that it would be like everyone would be gathered and we'd be like, guys, we rented Requiem for a Dream. And then we would all watch it again. And I was like, I've seen this so many times. It's so dramatic.
Yeah.
How about you, Catherine?
I went to film school in BC at UBC, and then I stayed out there for many years, kind of doing, indie film stuff with my friends and shooting little shorts and stuff with people I knew, not making any money. I worked in lighting for a while there, kind of similarly trying to like learn from watching some other people, but then I worked on like a MOW and I was like, I don't want to watch this. This is not how I want to learn. And then, yeah, I don't know, kind of just was like doing the DP thing the whole time, but just chipping away until it became like a legitimate job.
Did you find you sort of had this, like, we've talked about sort of parallel careers and how to be working and making money and learning maybe on one side of the path and also be doing your primary kind of goal that you want to be doing, like DPing. Were you shooting sort of smaller things all the time and building that up while you were also like working your way up through the electric sort of department?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, but then, being in Vancouver as well, it's such a service industry, like center that kind of once you do your films with your friends and your short films and like all the freebies you can do, it's like, well, they're not going to hire me to DP like, X-Men 7. So I got to figure out another way. And I found that Toronto just had like more opportunities and, commercials, music videos, documentary. I did a lot of documentary in the time of kind of like having it be a job. Yeah. It was like a nice way in.
And in the beginning, when you both had those limitations of first starting out, not necessarily having a lot of money. Is there an example of a project that you guys can give where limitations actually made it what it is, why it was actually good?
Or just wish you had a package truck back then?
No, I mean, I did a short film in BC called Paul Pontius, and it was like a black and white 35 millimeter short film. And we had like very little resources, but I remember we had the mentality of like, let's not let this stop us. And we had like a shot planned where it came from the back of a limo through to the front, and which would have been done with like, you know, now with like a techno crane or something very high tech. And at the time we were just like, let's wrap these 2x4s like around the camera and like slide it through with many people's hands. Like it was one of those moments where it was a nice thing to kind of remember. You don't need the money. You can like creatively find ways to do it and it still can look great.
Mm-hmm.
Catherine, do you find yourself still kind of, I mean, wanting to do projects like that? Like after you kind of do things that have budget, you've got all the toys in the world, that there's something really kind of like refreshing and energizing and kind of like really services your soul well when you just are like, all right, fuck it, me and a couple friends and a camera and no lights and no crew and no anything, let's just go make something.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, even like Firecrackers was kind of that. It wasn't like I was really friends with all those people before, but the project itself was like stripped down, you know, a few crew members, and we're just kind of making it happen. There's something so nice about that and not having the pressure of like a bunch of other things around peripherally. Yeah.
Well, Bobby, you made Bumblebee with a bunch of friends, and it was a passion project. Can you speak to that and what that experience was?
Yeah. I mean, it was like Panavision had come out with the beta version of their new camera, the DXL, which Catherine used on the third season of Anne, and they had asked me if I wanted to shoot camera tests on it, and I was kind of like, yeah, testing just seems kind of like boring, and you never really actually get a chance to see how the camera actually performs. So I asked if I could take it out and actually just go shoot a short film with it. And I sat down with one of my best friends, Adam Beck, who's a director at Common Good, and his girlfriend, Nola, who's an actor and a writer. And we just got really drunk at Black Dice one night and kind of came up with some ideas that we wanted to maybe explore. And then Nola went home and in 2 days wrote a voiceover, and we were basically kind of like, what images would be interesting to shoot? And you know, we wanted to make sure that we tailored the images to what Nola wrote. So she wrote basically just like a 3-minute kind of voiceover, and then we went back to Black Dice and got wasted again, and then came up with a bunch of ideas of what we wanted to shoot. And then on the day, it was great. It was like because they were doing like a DXL test. The guy Michael Cioni, who basically developed the camera and who ran Light Iron for years, was in Toronto to give a presentation. And he was like, whatever you want, you could take. So we were like, let's get like the oldest, shittiest large format lenses we can find and just go out and shoot this thing. And it was me, Adam, Nola, who acted in it, like a first AC, and then, you know, Jerry and James from Panavision actually came out to like lug gear around. And Michael Cioni, the guy who invented the camera, was just on set helping faces and shit. It was it was fucking awesome. It was great, but it was just like we got really, you know, really lucky with just like friends that would like let us go shoot in their bar for free, and we got like one sky panel, and we shot the whole thing in like 9 hours or something. And it's like it's not perfect, but I honestly think it was like one of the most fun shoots I've done before. And it just felt, again, it was just like whatever we wanted to do, we just went and did it without having to think about any sort of constraints or anything. And it was awesome.
That's awesome. Also, I love Black Dice.
I've actually been drunk there with you, I believe. Catherine, would you like to speak to that? Just kidding, don't say anything. Yeah. I know, I love Black Dice, actually. It's great. Support them. I wonder if they're doing anything. I have a question here from Sasha Fisher. Can you give us tips on shooting handheld? I know Catherine is the queen of this.
I would say Bobby is the pro. Bobby's the master.
What?
Who's the handheld master here? I wish you guys could arm wrestle, then we'd really know.
Yeah.
Oh, man, my arms are weak. Now I'm 40 years old and I have lower back problems. So.
That's why you're at yoga with me, who is the same.
Yeah.
How do you guys feel about shooting handheld? What are some tips? Are there ways that you build the camera? I imagine does your team support that? I know you talked about Mariana doing that, Catherine, and building it so you can
I'm like, take all this stuff off of it. Try to make it clearer. Other tips, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of like little things that you can do, but knowing your space, the space around you, and like stepping through where you're going to be walking and moving, and just like feeling that out, and knowing how many steps things are away from you is like a good thing, just to feel comfortable. I don't know. What else? What, Bobby? I use like a weird jelly roll that people have probably seen stupid pictures of me wearing. Coral, you've seen me doing it, just to like support the weight and distribute it. But
yeah, I mean, it's better than an easy rig, I think. Though, do you like using those? I fucking hate them. I can't stand them.
I like using it like for something that's really still in a way. It's like hard because people have this misconception that an easy rig is somehow like a steady cam. And they're like, oh, you can move around. And you're like, no, you're going to feel every step I take unless you have some kind of, stabilizer on there. But
yeah. The thing that I find distracting about it is like when you're doing handheld and it's on your shoulder, the camera moves up and down like this. And when you have an easy rig and you walk, it moves side to side. So you can't lock yourself in step with the actors. Do you know what I mean? To kind of help hide the up and down movement.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. There's just something I find it actually more cumbersome than anything else. But the operators I know that do use it really well, and it's great. I mean, last show we were shooting all Alexa LF, and it was all handheld. And I mean, I put it on my shoulder twice, and I was like, "Fuck this," and just gave it back to the operators. And like we would, but it was fun. We would tag in and out every once in a while. I don't know. I just find, Catherine, I don't know if it's the same for you, but I just find there's something. The thing that I like most about shooting handheld is, I guess it's the only type of operating I'm good at. I'm a horrible operator every other way, though. But I just think I like proximity to like the actors, and just being able to adjust on the fly and
have a little spontaneity.
Yeah, I think also I remember having a conversation with an operator once where I was trying to explain to him how to frame for lighting, and it wasn't clicking for him. And like, I mean, when I say that, like, do you like, for me, it's like, if you're handheld and you just lean left, all of a sudden you get like a flare in a window or something, and then you could time it to emotional beats in the scene and stuff like that. And I find that some operators just intuitively do that, and then some don't do it, and I think it's just maybe a matter of taste. But I still remember like this look on the operator's face. Oh, can you frame for the lighting? And he just looked at me like I was a crazy person.
I wonder actually, and Jackie has a couple of good questions about this later on, but so you both were very much like operators and did your own work. And as you get, higher up in your career and you're on these different kinds of productions or if you break your arm doing something, you might have to bring in an operator. Can I tell that story?
That was a...
Oh God.
Okay, I'll tell this part of the story.
It's too late. It's too late now. That was such a.
I'll tell you. But basically, so my question at the end of this is, how was it adjusting to working with an operator? As that's kind of like a completely different feeling for you as shooters, I'm sure. And I'll give some context, and I'll make you tell me, Catherine, how it was doing Clifton Hill with Albert. But Catherine had an injury and was about to go to camera on this movie, a wonderful Canadian movie, and with a great director. You should watch all his films. His name's Albert Chin. And then she was not able to even probably hold a pencil, never went to camera. How was that experience for you, kind of being pushed away from the camera in that way?
Well, I knew from the beginning that there'd be an operator just because of the budget of the movie and it being an IA show. I had to have an operator. So it was actually like the best time for it to happen. And it was also like a movie that wasn't very handheld feeling. So in that way, it was kind of nice to have somebody else, and I could kind of concentrate on the lighting a lot more. And Johan Malnati, who's a great operator, he was there, so he was like working very hard to get into my brain about it a little bit. I mean, more the difficulty was like prepping the movie when I couldn't type. I was at location scouts and I couldn't hold a camera, like a still camera.
Oh, God.
I did Yoan out to one scout that was like very specific where the camera was going to be, because I needed sort of to take pictures and have someone there. And so he came out, which doesn't normally happen on a scout, but yeah. But yeah, no, I mean, it's actually been like a good wake up call of like, treating your body right, which is a big part of our jobs as well. As you were saying, your back killing. It's like, I've been trying to take some pandemic time to like get back into a shape where I could handheld operate after, 2 years.
That's interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
In the intro, Coral gave your guys's a few of the credits that you guys have. But if you look at their IMDb's, there's a vast array of things that you've done, varying in genre, budget, format, everything. I'm wondering, is there a method to how you're choosing your projects? What to do next? Is it financially based, creatively based, career based? Maybe you want to like try to do a certain thing to educate yourself on something new. What's the method to your madness, if there is one?
Jeez, I don't know. I feel like that's me and Catherine have spoken a lot about this before. I feel like I've had absolutely no method, and my I don't know, my career has been so fucking schizophrenic. And from the very beginning, I was like, I just want to work on meaningful projects I can emotionally engage with. And then I'm shooting like some stupid comedy that I obviously have a fun time doing because just being on set is fun. But I just feel like I've done a horrible job of actually curating a decent career. Do you know what I mean? It's like, and now I can look back and see the mistakes and be like, okay, now I know the feelings that I need to pay attention to that come up in me when there's a potential to work on something. And if it's just not like something that excites me right away, then, I should probably abstain from doing it. But I've definitely had to learn that lesson over and over and over and over again over the last 10 years. And I don't know if this is the same for you, Catherine, but I know that starting out, like, I kind of got into it backwards where I was shooting narrative before commercials and music videos. And I couldn't buy a commercial job to save my life. Like, I had even just coming off of like Goon, which was for me at the time a pretty big deal given the budget level and there's just the scope of the movie and everything. That movie ended and I sat around basically twiddling my thumbs for like 4 or 5 months being like, all right, I'm fucking useless. No one wants to hire me. I would like run around to Montreal to all the commercial production companies and they were just like, no, sorry. And then, so it was one of those things that was like, now you have the opportunity, hopefully, to be choosier about your long form projects. You can fill the time in between with, short form projects, commercials to subsidize weird art projects with your friends and stuff. But at the time, that just wasn't an option at all. So whatever feature came along, even if I was like, how are you supposed to be emotionally attached to the Trailer Park Boys? You're just like, okay, I guess I'll do it, And so, Catherine, I don't know if you had the same. And obviously, I feel lucky that I was getting those offers and that I always felt like I was learning on every project, especially as the budgets got higher. But I kind of felt sometimes like it was less curating a career and more dealing with a lack of options, if that makes sense, and not to be kind of like critical of being offered work or whatever. But I don't know, Catherine, did you find the same thing with like commercial work and maybe having to work on narrative stuff or long form stuff that wasn't the most engaging because it was there? Or
Yeah, and I definitely was like late to the commercial game. It wasn't something that came easy. But yeah, very, very similar experience. I think that there are also like these stages where, getting a telefilm $1.2 million movie was a step that had to be taken so that you could get more of those or get the next level. And so, some of those movies may not have been the first choice of content, but it was like getting the step forward and learning from it.
Yeah.
But I tried to always pick something that I was attracted to in some way, shape, or form, not just solely like it's a job.
Yeah. Yeah.
More and more now, I think, yeah, you're right. Like we have experience and the privilege of having some options, and it really changes how I'm approaching it. I feel like the pandemic is making me like, I need to work on things that have substance and are like morally right and not, I don't know.
Yeah. Okay, well, you know what time it is. It's time for our mystery guest. You are never going to guess. You are never going to guess who I brought. I always bring a friend for you that you're going to be excited to see. Shall I reveal her?
You didn't tell us this.
I know it's a mystery, Bobby. It's a surprise.
Oh.
Guys, it's Zosha.
Oh, Zosha! Oh my God, it's so nice to see you.
It's been a couple of days.
Let me tell everybody who she is. It's Zosha McKenzie, famed production designer who's worked with both of these wonderful creatives. And we thought we'd bring her in to say hi.
Hey. Yay.
Hi.
Good to see you guys. I feel like I've seen Bobby sort of recently because we live like a couple blocks away from each other. We should meet up. We should meet up tonight and drink in an alleyway. I know. I haven't seen Catherine in so long.
Oh, hi.
Oh my God! Since we tell drinking stories, since we like had beers on Dundas West. Now.
And this whole podcast is just making it look like all we all do is drink.
Yes, that is an illusion. It's true. Yeah. What do you think is in Jackie's coffee cup? Oh my God. I thought it'd be interesting to bring Zosha because we do have a limited amount of these episodes we're going to do. And I didn't think it was super fair to just have DPs on one and no important other departments like production design and art. So I thought it'd be kind of nice to talk about collaborating with the other keys. And Zosha, what is your favorite thing about collaborating with DPs? Just talking about practicals all day long or what?
Oh my gosh, yeah, practicals, window treatments. I don't know. I mean, the whole deal is pretty great. You basically are handed this script by a writer or director, and you get to read it and then like break it down with a cinematographer and figure out, create like a visual language in a way to like bring that script to life. So whether it's watching reference films or photos or kind of creating mood boards, like all of it's pretty awesome. I love the location scouting aspect of filmmaking. Like that's always been fun, whether with Catherine or Bobby, going around for like different houses or apartments or whatever it's been in the past, and kind of figuring out what you like about something, and that like helps inform what you do or don't like, whether you shoot in studio or on location. Spending time after hours, like talking about it too. I mean, we're all friends, so I feel like we end up spending so much time, even outside of like working hours, talking about projects and figuring out the look and tone. I don't know. It's been great working with both of them.
And I think you both worked, Bobby and Zosha recently worked on Castle in the Ground. How was that experience for you guys collaborating together?
Yeah, amazing.
It was awesome, and I think incredible. It was like I think it really points to me and Zosha worked together on Joey's first feature, but Zosha was art director and was designing this one, and it just I don't know, it really felt like it. You know, when someone cares so much about the project that you end up having conversations that normally might be like, well, let's just do this because this is right. No, let's just do this because this is like technically easier. It became so like everything just became rooted in kind of story and character, and it was just such a wonderful experience. And I really think that DPs are pretty useless without production designers and art department in general. No, seriously, it's like
I agree.
it's liquid, But I don't know. I like, it was, that feature Castle in the Ground was not an easy shoot. It was, I mean, the whole thing was the biggest clusterfuck I've ever been a part of. It was like everything that could have gone wrong went wrong. And I remember there was one scene where we were trying to figure out what location the Anna character was supposed to work in, and it was supposed to be a bar/restaurant, and there was this amazing location that was like this bar/pizza place that was all wood and really strange. But it was windows everywhere. And so we were like, well, it works, but we have to shoot there night for night. And last minute, they were like, we can't shoot there night for night. It's got to be day for night. I was like, fuck, Canteen, this is going to be a nightmare. It's not going to look good. So we went across the street where there was another bar, and we looked at that one. And doing that one day for night was like technically way easier. And I was looking at it and I was like, yeah, we can make this look really, really good. And so me and Zosha were kind of pitching our cases, and Zosha was very much like, but the other place is better for the story. It's better for the character. And I agreed with that, but I kept on falling back onto, but I don't think we can make it look as good as the other place. And then eventually Joey was like, you know what? Zosha's like idea makes sense because it's based story and character. Bobby, figure it the fuck out. And Zosha was so fucking right. We were in there shooting, and the two times we like saw tinted windows on camera for a second and a half, who gives a shit? It didn't matter. Do you know what I mean? Because it looked so much more appropriate to the story. And I remember after shooting there, like going up to Zosha and be like, I couldn't thank her enough for just like going to the mat for what was right for the story. You know what I mean? And it just made me feel like, oh fuck, man, I fucked that one up. Like I should have just been on the same page the whole time, you know? No, seriously. But it was really like that's such a memorable moment for me on that shoot. You know what I mean? Because it was like you're really working with people that want to collaborate, you know, and it was great.
Yeah, I think Bobby would have made both look amazing. But we did sort of try and like really delve into the characters and their psyches and figure out whether it was like color or wallpapers or, you know, fabrics, like try and figure out what really made the most sense for those characters. And I think, that even exactly went as far as to where Anna worked for like a scene or two scenes, you know what I mean? Like, we tried to go deep, and I think it paid off.
That movie looks so good, guys.
It really does. It's incredible.
Yeah, so glad.
So many beautiful frames in it.
It's so beautiful. I saw that TIFF on like the giantest screen in the world, and it was
Giantest.
Well, it really suited the 4:3 because, you know, it was like the screen would normally wrap, but you were right in the center punch of it.
Oh yeah.
I know the 4:3. I was like, what? That was an interesting choice.
Yeah, I think that was like something the key creatives definitely. I think we definitely pushed for that.
What movie did you and Catherine and Zosha work on?
Yeah, we did the People Garden. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
we did all meet on Algonquin.
I was gonna say we worked together on Algonquin also a couple years before in like 2013 or something crazy.
Oh, like even earlier, like 11 or something. I thought. That's a long time ago.
Very long time ago.
Where we all stayed in a dorm complex. And we were all divided by our departments, weirdly.
Yeah, and I lived with like me and like five girls. Staging and ballot sampling.
You guys had all the herbal tea, and then I lived in the production house, and like with Chris Hatcher, we'd dress the same every day somehow. Even though it didn't make any sense.
Oh my gosh, no, you guys were the best team. Yeah, so we did that first, and then we worked on the People Garden, which I think we also bonded on though, because it was like one of those travel away shows. I mean, they both were. That one was like set over Souk in BC and Sudbury, where I love to go back.
You have spent so much time in Sudbury; it's actually out of control.
Get an apartment there. So that one was also a good bonding.
Yeah.
For the People Garden, you guys did an incredible job. We shot on location in this sort of camp, sort of scout camp, and we really wanted these sort of A-frame cottages. And then Zosha and John built those cottages, so we shot the interiors of those in Sudbury to make the funding work. It was like such a total crazy thing to do.
It was pretty wild. Yeah, John definitely like oversaw all of that, and John and Chris Hatcher were like in Sudbury making that whole end of things work while we were in shooting all the exteriors, and they were creating all the interiors. It was pretty nuts.
That movie looks very, very good.
It looks so
You
good.
both did a beautiful job. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I love it. It's so good. Yay! I'm so glad I got to see you guys. This is the best.
Well, that's it for Zosha, everybody. That's all we get. Was it a good surprise? I think it was.
It was the best.
That was a great surprise. Zosh, I'll see you in the alleyway later on tonight.
Black Dice in 6 to 9 months or whenever we'll release.
Back alley somewhere.
Okay, back alley. Thanks, Zosha.
Bye.
Bye.
And she's gone. Was that exciting?
I loved it.
That was great. Did you do that? Do you do that every time you do one of these? You have a mystery guest.
And it's designed to be exciting for the person who's on it. Yeah, you can be the mystery guest, but then it's not a surprise. I have an audience question. Should we take this?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Morgana McKenzie. Oh, we know her from later.
Our guest for Jackie's Corner this week also, which will be out after this live stream. Stay tuned. Morgana, she asked, have you found your experience in one format, say documentary, has influenced your approach to other formats, say commercial or narrative?
And she is a DP and director herself, so be as technical as you shall want.
And she's awesome, DP. I've seen some of her work, and it's great.
Cool.
Yeah, for sure. I think everything I do influences other work. You're like learning every time you shoot. Any project is like a learning experience. And I definitely think documentary probably influenced the way I was shooting narrative, because I was coming at it with like, how do you take what's there and make it work in the scenario? And I feel like when I first started doing narrative, I still had that in my head. And especially when you're doing like low budget, you're just like, okay, well, how do I know this skill from documentary? You walk into a room and it's like a shitty white room. How do you kind of like make the best out of it?
That's so interesting. Yeah. I have another question here from Jillian. If we were going to watch something of yours, what would it be? Also, Jillian worked on The People Garden with us, Catherine. She was in the office with Jesse. Do you remember Jesse in BC?
Yes.
Yeah.
Very well.
Yeah, Jillian was great. She worked very hard on it. So what, can you pick one thing?
I would hate everything I've done after it's done, so it's very hard to recommend. Bobby?
What with Firecrackers?
Firecrackers is beautiful.
Yeah.
You can't hate that
Do you
one.
not like Firecrackers, Catherine? Or
No, I like it and I'm super proud of it, but I find when I watch my own stuff afterwards, I'm just like critical of everything, even that movie that I'm like proud of and that I like as a film, I'm like looking at things that I would change now.
Yeah, I feel like that's pretty normal. But I kind of feel like I don't know, the older I get or the more experience I get, if a movie is successful in telling the story, I'm much more able to let go of like mistakes or technical shit that on the shoot is driving me fucking nuts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's like, it's just like the idea of like, did your work help the story succeed? Did you succeed in in making a good film? And so I find now, like, I look back on stuff like, I'm super, super proud of Castle on the Ground. And, I'm proud of the way it looks. There's a ton of stuff in it that I'm like, I cringe when I see it, but I'm also like, fuck it, who cares? I really like the movie, and I think that we all did a really good job of like telling an interesting story.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that would be my answer for watching something. Castle on the Ground, maybe. I don't know, but it's more like, but Catherine, it's kind of the same thing. It's like I can list off on one hand the amount of projects that I'm actually kind of like, oh yeah, I'm proud of this. Like it'd be like if you want to watch something, watch one of these 5 things.
Yeah.
Speaking of Castle on the Ground and Firecrackers, as a director, I'm always wanting to learn more about the best collaborations between DPs and directors. So what qualities would you say Jasmine or Joey or any other director that you guys have worked with have made those collaborations go so smoothly and have success with the film?
I mean, some of the best collaborations for me are ones where a director knows what they want, but are also super open to change and collaborate, you know, but they have a specific vision or there's something that they're driving at, whether or not they know exactly how to translate that from my perspective or for the cinematography of the film. But they know they have like a style, they have something they're clear in their mind, but then are totally open to collaborate and like figure that out with you. That was definitely a Jasmine scenario. And like Coral, you and I worked with Chelsea a couple times. Chelsea is a similar director where it's like, she has a vision, but she's open to what I'm bringing, you know?
Yeah, she's very much like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think you just, I mean, you answered, I think, the exact way that I think I would have, you know what I mean? I love the kind of like minutia within that though, the different ways directors can be open to ideas, you know what I mean? Like you work with some directors that are so actor driven, like, you know, Joey was like that, the first couple short films we made and the first feature we made. And then I remember before Castle and during Castle, I mean, he was, you know, before that, obviously, he was one of the most collaborative people I've worked with, but also I think one of the directors I've learned the most from, just because of listening to the way he would talk to his actors and talk about the scene. And I just constantly felt like I was learning how to be a better DP by hearing him talk about subtext and emotion and all that shit, you know? But in between his first feature and his second feature, he's funny. He told me this story where on his first feature, he came up to me, we were shooting a scene, and he was like, "Hey, Bob, what lens are we on?" He calls me Bob every once in a while, but he's one of the few. And he says, "Hey, Bob, what lens are we on?" And I was like, and I said, "Why?" And I kind of, I guess, unintentionally, it was like, I guess, defensive about it. And I don't really remember this, but Joey kind of remembers it because it struck him as like, oh shit, should I not be asking the DP what lens we're on? And then he told me before we did the second feature that he was like, I want to learn more about like lenses and how they look and how they feel. And so when we did lens tests, it's like, okay, come to Panavision. You're gonna, if you come, served a dual purpose. We couldn't afford a stand, and so he stood in for the lens test. But after the fact, it was like, he was like, what are you looking for in the lens? What qualities, and what does this lens feel like, and what does this lens feel like? And then the whole process became like, oh shit, like he was like, there's a technical side that's also very kind of like emotional in what DPs do. And he was like, I want to learn more about that. So every scene, then every shot we did would be like, you know, we storyboard and shot listed the entire movie like 3 times before we even began pre-production. But when we were on set, is that we knew what the shot wanted to be, but we'd be like, should it be 35, should it be a 40? We would look at the two, and then sometimes Joe would just be like, I think 40 feels better, and it just became a much more inclusive collaboration on that side. And I really appreciated that, whereas I guess before, very inadvertently, I kind of got defensive because I was like, oh shit, is he questioning my ability to make the right choice? I kind of, you know what I mean? Like, and it wasn't like it wasn't an intentional thing, but the way the conversation developed after that made for an even stronger collaboration on the second feature, you know? So.
Awesome. To wrap up, because this has flown by, I wish it could go on for hours and hours, but that's for next time. I want to know what's like the most Hollywood ass shot that you were able to do on the biggest budget movie that you've worked on thus far, that you were just so excited that you finally got to do it. And please get technical so that our DP people that are watching can get as excited as you were when you were able to do it.
I love this question.
Oh no, I love this question. Bobby, I feel like you've got them all. You've got all the fancy stuff.
You both have to answer, so that's
yeah.
You can answer last if you want.
Catherine, do you want to go first?
Yeah, because you'll have better ones. So,
It's only 'cause I choose bad movies to work on.
there's not one that stands out to me. I think that like working on Anne, it was always kind of cool having like techno cranes appear all the time, and you're like, oh, okay, this is just we get to have this today. That kind of stuff like is fun and exciting. It's hard for me because I don't get as excited by the technical stuff unless it's really serving the emotion of the movie. And I've seen sometimes like those toys come out and then it'd be like, we don't need this right now.
Yeah.
Like this is not the right tool. So, I mean, the commercial stuff is fun to do it with. Like I did a commercial for Samsung. We had like a techno crane built through this like wall of circles that all kind of had to line up, circle, 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 and pull through. That was super fun and scary and whatever. Yeah.
Awesome.
Might I remind you that you did have Pamela Anderson flying through the air on a crane while you yourself were on a crane. I can't believe that doesn't even rank. While it was raining.
I want to hear that story.
I wasn't on the crane, was I, during that point?
I don't know if you were on the crane during that.
No.
In this version of the story, you're on the crane. Go.
I have a terrible memory. I should never tell any story. Okay, anyway, we'll tell you that one later, Bobby, if either of us ever remember it.
Yeah.
But I'm the mystery guest on the show next time.
When you're the mystery guest. You're both the mystery guests. All right, Bobby. What's your big moment?
It's kind of a twofold thing, but 2 years ago, Mike Dowse asked me to shoot what would be my first like big American studio movie called Stuber, which is like a dumb action comedy. But it served a purpose. It was like the budget was like 35 million, and it was like explosions and car chases and the kind of shit that's like I'd done before on a lower level, but this was just like kind of I think too great of an opportunity to pass up. And I remember we had one night, there was a scene that takes place on like a 2-mile stretch of what's supposed to be a highway in LA. And we shot like over 4 days, split over like 2 different weeks to get all the stuff. And one day was like all the dialogue. And then, another day was more of the dialogue. And the third and fourth day was like just the stunt shit. Cause there's like a giant car explosion. They're getting chased. These guys are firing like, automatic weapons out of the side of the SUV. And the Kumail Nanjiani character throws like a gas canister at them and the whole car explodes. But the two things that were the most exciting was getting the call sheet for that day, because when you get the call sheet, it's the amount of scenes you have to do and the page count. And it was one scene and the page count was 1/8 of a page to shoot in 14 hours. And it was just like, all right, cool. I've officially made it onto like a real Hollywood production. We're shooting 1/8 of a page today.
Not like 9 pages.
But like technically shooting a night exterior with like, a massive wet down and a massive stunt where a car explodes and flips over and they're surrounded by a bunch of different cars and there's gunfire coming out of the back of another car. And we were rolling like, Russian arm, drone, camera car shit, 2 cameras on like long ass zooms and then 6 crash cameras, just all for this one shot. And it was just like, of course, 2 of the shots ended up in the movie, but it was literally, we spent 6 hours setting everything up. And then it was like, okay, let's go. And then we did one take. And then it was like, okay, should we shoot something different now? It was great. It was awesome.
Okay, I think we have to end on that. That's crazy. Thank you both so much. This is really fun, and you guys are really open and generous with your time and very fun. So it's nice to have a little bit of light conversation in all this sort of heavy time. So we really appreciate both of you.
Thanks for having us. Really appreciated being on, and nice to answer a couple questions.
Awesome. All right, we're gonna make you go away. So goodbye, and Jackie and I are going to mix things up a tiny bit. So don't go away yet. We're going to tell you about our next guest, and Jackie does have a statement she'd like to make at the end of the show today. So I'm going to tell you who's on next week, speaking of Hollywood. So there's Hollywood, and then there's a bunch of indie American producers like us down there trying to make it work. So we're going to have 2 really wonderful guests next week. And their names are Molly Asher and Real Rock Dector. Excuse me. So I'll put that information up for next week, and I'm going to show you a picture of them. And then I'm going to let Jackie take it away after that. And actually, Jackie, before I disappear,
Yes.
tell us about your corner.
My corner, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, well, as I said earlier in the stream, Morgana McKenzie is our guest for Jackie's Corner this week. She's a fantastic DP, colorist, director, writer. Yeah, she's definitely one to watch. So yeah, it'll be up on YouTube and Instagram, and I will chat.
Amazing. All right, so I'm going to put up this about next week, and I'm going to go away and.
Yeah. Hi guys. Yeah. So since just as Cora had mentioned, this week has been quite a heavy one for a lot of people, if not all of us. And I just wanted to take a moment to speak to it. So, you know, since all of us are spending a lot more time on the internet right now, I'm sure most of you are aware of the several cases of police brutality that have led to the murders of Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and George Floyd. There has also been cases here in Toronto, if you're not aware, where calls for police assistance have led to DeAndre Campbell and Regis Korchinski Paquet losing their lives. It has been especially difficult these past few weeks hearing about these deaths at the hands of police and not being able to connect and heal the way that we normally would because of so many of us quarantining. And for a lot of you, COVID is the only threat being posed to your life if you were to go outside. But for many of us Black and Indigenous folks, it feels like the virus is the least of our worries right now. So I wanted to say, as filmmakers, not only do we have the opportunity to show humanity in the various ways that we see it and feel it, but we have the capacity to share it with people who may doubt or even deny certain people's humanity because of something as stupid as the color of their skin. So I wanted to take this time to urge you, filmmakers out there watching, during this time where development of new material is all that a lot of us are able to do right now. Please try and make an effort to develop work that in its own small way, but important way, can combat the atrocities that are taking place in the States and also in Canada. I also urge you to combat these violent and traumatizing images of Black death being circulated online by watching films that show Black life in all of its complexities. And I'm not just talking about Spike Lee. He's not the only one that exists out there. Amanda Parris wrote a lovely article detailing where you can watch work by Black Canadians, which we have linked below, and it'll be a link in our YouTube video bio, where you can watch all these Black Canadian filmmakers work right now. And lastly, I want to just say, please, if you can consider donating to the various fundraisers and organizations that will also have linked. This one's for Regis, who had, she was a 29-year-old Black woman who passed away on May 27th. And we also have another link for different fundraisers and organizations that you can donate to in the States, given what's happening in Minneapolis and elsewhere. So if you have anything to give, you know, it'd be greatly appreciated. Take the time to watch those movies that we've mentioned. And please take the time to be kind to yourself right now. Do what you need to do to take care of yourself. For those of you who know people who are struggling right now because of what's happening, reach out to them and make sure that they're doing okay and support them however you can during this tough time and stay safe. Yeah, so thank you guys. I hope that this live stream was a welcome distraction in all of this. And we'll see you next week for some more happy distractions. Okay. Bye.